You bury someone you love. You bring flowers. You say a few words. You stand in silence. You think this is just tradition, but the real answer is far stranger. This behavior is older than language. Your brain still runs the same ancient program every time you lose someone, whether you notice it or not. Go back, not centuries, hundreds of thousands of years. At Shanidar Cave in modern Iraq, archaeologists found a Neanderthal buried deliberately. Pollen clusters surrounded the body. Some researchers believe flowers were placed intentionally. Others, including archaeologist Chris Hunter, argue burrowing bees carried the pollen in naturally. The debate continues, but one thing is certain: this body was placed on purpose, in a specific spot, in a specific position. Why does that matter? Because burial takes effort. It takes a group of people agreeing that a person deserves more than being left where they fell. Your ancestors had no grief counselors, no sympathy cards. What they had was ritual, and ritual might be one of the oldest technologies humans ever built. Anthropologist Paul Pettit has studied the earliest burial sites on record. His research suggests intentional burial appears far earlier than most assume, possibly reaching back tens of thousands of years before written history. That means the impulse to mark death predates cities, predates farming, predates almost everything you'd call civilization. So what was really happening? Grief itself isn't unique to humans. Elephants return to the bones of dead herd members, touching them gently. Chimpanzees sit quietly near a fallen troop member for hours. Crows gather around their dead, and some scientists believe this helps the flock learn what killed the bird. But no other species builds a monument. No other species tells a story about the dead and repeats it for generations. Why? Psychologist Ernest Becker argued this isn't really about the dead. It's about the living. His research proposed that human awareness of mortality creates such overwhelming anxiety that entire cultures exist to manage it. He called it the denial of death. Not pretending death isn't real, building meaning powerful enough to make it bearable. Every gravestone, every eulogy, every candle lit in memory, all of it might be the same ancient reflex. The refusal to let a person simply disappear. Your ancestors had no embalming, no refrigeration. A body left exposed, decomposed within days. There were practical reasons to bury the dead, but practicality doesn't explain the red ochre pigment sprinkled across remains over 100,000 years old. It doesn't explain skeletons curled into fetal positions, as if returned to birth. That's not sanitation, that's symbolism. Something in the early human mind reached for meaning before it had words sophisticated enough to explain it. Cultures diverge completely across time and place, yet the pattern holds. In Madagascar, some communities still practice famadihana, unwrapping ancestral remains and dancing with them before reburial. Different tools, different symbols, same underlying behavior. You do something with the body, you mark the moment, you tell the story afterward. Sociologist Tony Walter has studied modern grief, and his research points to something surprising. People often maintain what he calls a continuing bond with the dead, talking to a deceased parent while driving, keeping a voicemail saved for years, visiting a grave just to talk out loud about your day. This isn't dysfunction. Walter's research suggests it may be one of the healthiest ways people process loss, not severing the connection, reshaping it. Which means Neanderthal burial all those thousands of years ago and your instinct to keep an old photograph on your desk might come from the exact same place, the refusal to treat a person as simply gone. Think about the last funeral you attended, the gathering, the stories retold, the object someone kept, a watch, a note. You didn't invent any of it. You inherited it from a lineage stretching back before written history. Your ancestors with nothing, no writing, no metal tools, still stopped what they were doing, still dug into the earth, still placed a body with care instead of leaving it exposed. Not because death confused them, because love did. Grief might be nothing more than love with nowhere left to go. Ritual might be humanity's oldest answer to that. Not a cure, a container. So next time you stand at a funeral, listening to words that feel almost automatic, remember what you're witnessing. You are watching one of the oldest behaviors your species has ever practiced, older than the wheel, possibly older than modern humans themselves. You bury someone you love. You bring flowers. You say a few words. You stand in silence. And in that silence, without knowing it, you are standing exactly where your ancestors stood, refusing to let go.